the ages. The Roman Empire fell because their currency could not maintain itself. The Constitutional Conventions was held solely because the United States debased their currency through inflation, and the economy needed to be fixed. This is why only gold and silver were allowed to become money. People see prices in the stores at the pump and in the commodities markets rising. They think, oh well, things are getting more expensive, but they have no idea why. The value of bread has not increased, nor milk, oil, eggs, etc. The value of the dollar has been stolen through inflation. The more money government prints, the more value is stolen from the people's savings. This was the New Deal we traded our sovereignty for, the raw deal. I'd like to cover a little bit on prohibition for a moment too. I don't know, do I have much time left? Get about 3 minutes. Sorry, is anyone bored at all? Because I'll stop.
That's interesting.
Many may disagree with me, but I have a perspective about medical affairs that is right and correct, but politically unpopular. The United States government has taken over the healthcare industry. It has taken over much more than that, but in focus of this industry, it has only officially taken over recently, and in fact it has owned it for a long time. The role of a doctor is not a role of permission, nor is it to tell a patient what to do. A doctor's role is an advisory role and information. A sovereign person has omnipotent control over their medical affairs and needs no permission from anyone to obtain any medicine needed to treat their ailment. A well-informed sovereign does not even need a doctor's oversight to act upon their own medical affairs. The issues with healthcare expenses rising has nothing to do with technology and only slightly to do with inflation. Medical expenses rise due to inflation no more dramatically than any other product or service. The problem is government interference and regulation in the medical affairs of the individual. Government forces people to see doctors they do not need to see in order to obtain a license or prescription to possess a medicine they have a right to obtain as a personal medical choice. When a person reaches the age of consent in this country, that person is a full-fledged sovereign American and is legally allowed to act in their own affairs to whatever extent they judge themselves competent. No government has the authority to stand in the way of an individual exercising the right to determine their own course of medical treatments. Yet without constitutional authority, government has assumed the authority to regulate all narcotic medications, as well as other substances. I agree that some substances should be prohibited because of the extreme danger associated with them, like crack, ecstasy, and others. But this prohibitional authority can only be bestowed upon government through constitutional amendment, which was never done for any substance but alcohol, and that was repealed. Government could not get a constitutional amendment to prohibit most prescription medications, or even marijuana, and no one is recommending these things be made available for children. Alcohol is legal, and measures are taken to legally prevent children from obtaining it, because they are not of the age to consent to its use. Currently, it is far easier for a child to obtain street drugs than alcohol, and some of those street drugs are far more dangerous than marijuana or alcohol. We the people need do nothing more extravagant than redeclare and assert our rights. We already have them. We just have to declare them, express them, and exercise them. The first exercise of power in America was through the Act of Declaration, the Declaration of Independence from England. The fact is, we the people never gave government the authority to prohibit anything as we did alcohol. Alcohol prohibition was repealed because it made trade dangerous through its very criminalization. It placed the market into the hands of criminals. People died more frequently due to the impurity of bootlegged alcohol. No one would dispute that many street drugs are dangerous, and that government should have the authority to prohibit those. But prohibition has not stifled the demand for the safer alternatives, and has placed those in the hands of the Mexican drug cartels, currently taking over 80 miles plus inside the American border in Arizona. The prohibition of marijuana and the criminalization of it are the only dangers associated with it, and are the chief finance source for Mexican drug cartels that are coming into our country. Government must be held accountable. When it acts outside the bounds of its authority, if an American challenges law that violates their rights, they risk their very freedom to challenge it. When government challenges the boundaries of their authority, they do so without oversight from the media watchdog that was supposed to hold them accountable. And there is no penalty for their encroachment upon liberty. But the first link the chain was forged. The first freedom trod upon, we were all damaged. As sovereign Americans, we must act responsibly and act like Americans once again. We must truly examine the path we are on as a people, not just as a country, and decide what it is we want humanity to grow into. Do we want to be a free, prosperous country with individual control over our affairs and destiny? Or Or do we want to become a world enslaved by our masters, who own all of the property and ration goods and services to their slaves to keep them comfortable in their servitude? Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Sure.
Tell us about you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Basically, I'm everything you see here. I've been studying the Constitution for over 10 years, the Declaration of Independence, our Founding Fathers, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. There are people who say that we can't know what the Constitution means because it was written so long ago. But our Founding Fathers wrote everything down. There's no misinterpretation. Basically, who I am is I'm just a guy from Buffalo. I'm nobody important. I've never done anything like this before. I've just done the research. I demand my rights because they're inherent within me. No one has a right to tell me what to do. And they're only certain that this government can tell me not to do. Any other questions?
Who's your lawyer?
That's a very good question. I would never hire an attorney. All attorneys are representatives of the bar, the British Accreditation Registry. They work for the court. They don't work for you. When you hire an attorney, you are considered a ward of the court, an infant, or a person of unsound mind. So legally, if you hire a lawyer, you're an idiot.
There you go.
Yes.
Have you have a license plate and a registration?
I do right now. I have an initiative on October 16th to get people together. We're going to meet on River Road in Vulcan, and we're going to tear all the tags off of our cars.
Permanently?
Permanently.
Go to it. We'll be watching.
It is a peaceful act of civil disobedience. No one's going to be harmed. The whole point is government is overreached in so many areas it's not funny. Maybe our basic liberties have been broken. We can't even open a business without licensure. Even if that business is totally safe, it doesn't affect anyone. Like, I can't sell a t-shirt on the street without a license. How is it not my right to earn an income, to provide for myself? I don't want government to do anything for me. I want it to get the hell out of my way so I can do something for myself.
A good example of that, just to be a cab driver in New York City, how much it costs? $800,000. $800,000.
Now, as far as I understand,
That's for, yeah.
as far as I understand, a cab driver is required to be licensed because they're doing commerce on the roads.
Yeah.
And that's something that government can regulate.
What day are you doing that tag, John? Because we
October
want to watch,
16th.
because the meeting isn't going to come yet.
October 16th at 1 p.m. to about 5 p.m. We're all going to gather there, as many people as I can get together. It's just me and my Facebook, seeing what I can do to scrape people together who believe in their liberties.
Sounds good.
So this is before election.
I guess it is. I have such little faith in elections these days. I believe that we are the government. We need to tell them what to do, and if they won't do it, we need to hold them accountable under the law. We have a system for this kind of thing. Everyone who represents a position of public service takes an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. If they're not upholding that oath, they do not belong in office. And the county sheriff is where I say we start. He is the position of Commonwealth, the supreme authority. He is our president of Erie County. He is the CEO of the courts. He decides something.
His job is to enforce the laws that are on his books.
I disagree completely. I believe his job is to enforce the Constitution. And if there's a law in the books that conflicts with that Constitution, it is not law. Are there any other questions?
Well, you did fine.
You should come to the 10th Amendment rally in Albany.
I really haven't heard much about it, but you can send me stuff on it. I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, we did have it on the website. But you did fine.
How many people showed up at that rally?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know.
Couple, probably 150, I guess.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I had planned to upload this to YouTube. I have my camera woman's wife in the back. She's recording the whole event. So I plan to upload this to YouTube, and maybe people can
Post it on
actually...
the Facebook, 912 Facebook.
Absolutely. People can actually see what it's like to come to a meeting before they actually do.
Yes.
And sorry, your last name?
My name is Johnson, Robert Johnson. I'm not afraid of government.